Ice Magic here. I've been learning about psychological abuse today, and um, as I've been learning about it, I've come to understand why people see me as unstable or paranoid or crazy. And I mean, it's always frustrating me because I know deep down that I'm not crazy, that I'm not being paranoid, and that these things are actually happening. But I just couldn't get anybody else to believe me because they're like, oh, well, they wouldn't do that. Because, people who do psychological abuse typically are the people that you least expect to be abusers. And it led me to be unable to trust myself, which made me start questioning everything, including how I was perceiving and remembering things. Even if somebody else agreed with me, I'm like, no, maybe they're just trying to be sympathetic. I never truly could believe myself after a while because I had just told for so long, no, you're just imagining things, you're just crazy, you're just being paranoid, they're not really doing that. Or they wouldn't say that, and even if they did say that, they probably didn't mean it, etc., etc. Or they didn't do that thing, and if they did do the thing, well, then they probably had reasons for it, or it was justified in some way. And so I stopped trusting myself, and then I started to believe that I was the problem, that I was the toxic one, that I was just crazy, that there was something wrong with me that needed to be fixed. So for a long time I was in counseling thinking I needed to be fixed because I was broken in some way, like I was bad or evil, and maybe if I could just figure out how to fix it, maybe if I could just be stronger or better, it would stop. But no matter what I did, it never stopped. So I started to blame myself. I mean, how could somebody that I love, or people in my church, or people that supposedly care about me, treat me so badly unless there was something wrong? I mean, unless I was bad or evil somehow inherently. So since I couldn't be fixed and I kept blaming myself, I began to hate myself. And we all know how awful hating yourself can be and what it can do to you. But no, doing this research, it surprises me to know that toxic people are everywhere. And people who do psychological abuse, those type of toxic people, they actually get enjoyment out of hurting people. And that is crazy to me. There's just not enough resources on this. There's just not enough people talking about it or trying to help people recover from it because it's not that well recognized. No one really understands or wants to recognize that this type of abuse happens, and therefore it's often very hidden. It's hard to see, and when it becomes noticeable to other people, usually by that point the victim is already devastated. It's never expected because they hide themselves in families and organizations and companies and friend groups, and they are always the people that you least expect to be that way, or that others would least expect to be that way. Because often when you're in that abuse, you do know something's wrong. You just can't put your finger on it because when you do, you come off as needy or paranoid or unstable. Often this has left me feeling quite discouraged and almost in a state of despair. I constantly feel like I'm sucked dry of all joy and energy, and trash can being moved around by the wind. I just don't, anytime I start to feel a good feeling, I get super anxious or suddenly feel like there's this impending doom. And it never occurred to me that I felt this way because of the psychological abuse. It never occurred to me that, I was suffering from anything. I just thought maybe I felt somehow like, I always just felt like somehow the other shoe was going to drop. I always felt like somehow they were going to, like the world was just going to crash around me. It just almost felt like I didn't deserve to feel good. And I never really thought about it, but perhaps that's why I constantly feel numb or don't have the connections that I want to have, or constantly feel sad and depressed, because feeling good is often, any type of good feeling is often being replaced by this anxiety and this fear and this devastating feeling that something awful is about to come around the corner. But now that I've done this research a little bit, I know that recovery is possible, even though it doesn't always seem that way. Because for a long time to me, it didn't seem that way. Because like I said, I thought I was the broken one. I thought that I was just unrepairable. I thought that I was just beyond help, beyond repair. It really damaged my sense of trust. I mean, how can I trust anybody else if I can't even trust myself? If I can't trust the people closest to me to not hurt me, how can I trust anybody? So as I go through this process, I'm going to be updating you guys periodically, and I'm going to be trying to be as real as I can. So there'll probably be a few emotional moments, but that's okay, because in order for me to heal, I feel it's important that I show up as real and as authentically as I can, which is what I always strive to do in my life. I know I played a role in the dysfunction, and relationships are supposed to be 50-50, but that's not always true in the case of responsibility, especially when one partner is extremely toxic. But it is good to know that I'm not crazy, and that I don't have to feel badly for them. For a long time, I felt bad for them because I felt like maybe it was their life circumstances, or maybe it was something inherent, like, that they just, something wrong with them, or they're having a bad day, or maybe it was just their mental state or whatever. And I always felt bad because I was like, well, how can you be okay with treating people like this unless there's something wrong with you, or like maybe there's something wrong with me. And so I always felt bad because they had to put up with me. That was the main thing I felt bad about. I was like, well, I'm so sorry that you have to put up with me. You don't have to put up with me. I'm sorry that I'm such a mess. I apologize all the time for being broken and a mess, and it's crazy to me to think that I wasn't the problem. Feeling badly for them, though, it is a trap, because it does trap you in the relationship, because you feel bad and you want to help them and you want to fix yourself so that way you can help them, and so you can be what they want you to be because they love you so much. And that's just a trap. You can't be what someone else wants you to be. You can only be you. I'm a very kind and forgiving and compassionate person, and in these relationships that has often been used against me. Because, like, for instance, one of my children's fathers, he always hated how compassionate and forgiving and nice I was all the time, but yet that was the one thing that he always relied on, because he knew that as long as I was nice and forgiving and compassionate, that I would always forgive him, that we would always be okay. He could continue doing whatever he wanted to me, and I was just going to sit there and take it because that's what I did, and it was always used against me. And that's what they do. They use that kindness, they use that inherent good nature against you, to take advantage of you, to hurt you, to keep you trapped in their web. Man, Scooby-Doo couldn't be more right. The real monsters are all human. And I don't know if anyone else is struggling with something like this, but if you are, please leave a comment down below. I'd like to connect with like-minded individuals and people who are suffering the same thing, going through the same process, or who have maybe even recovered. So that way maybe I can have a community and help other people through this as well. Or if people have already made it through it, have like a shining light, like the lighthouse in the dark, that can help me find the path to the light again. Anyway, guys, as always, I love you, so go out and spread the love, because love always wins. Bye.